Word, this is Paul from Prior Witness here, and today we're going to go over scenes, how to make scenes, part 2 on the MX5 Headrush. So real quick, I did one of these on my previous video. We talked about how to make scenes, we created a rig. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something based on a new firmware update that came out roughly a couple weeks ago as of the making of this video, that allowed us to not only make scenes, but allows us to make two different kinds of selections of scenes just from one foot switch. So in theory, you could have 6 of these scenes all in one rig, which is really, really neat. However, for today's purposes, what we're going to do is we're going to do a hybrid solution. This is something I do with my own setup. So I have 2 scenes on one channel, on one switch here, and then for these other 2 switches, we're just going to select different pedals. Because we just feel like it. We want that flexibility. I like flexibility. So we're only going to have a heavy tone and a clean tone on this first switch here. That's all we're going to do for this one. And then 2 and 3 are just going to be able to switch, different things that we want to switch out whenever we want to. So let's get right into it. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to click on these 3 little dots. We're going to go to Hardware Assign. First, we're going to select our heavy tone first. So let's click on this little plus button here. Not to overly confuse anybody, I'm selecting effects loop, and the reason why I'm selecting effects loop is I actually have a pedal that acts as a preamp going straight into the Headrush. It's the Rev G3 pedal. It's a phenomenal pedal. I'm going to click on this, and my fat fingers are not working. Here we go. So we're going to go toggle down a scene. We're going to edit the scene. So we got a few scenes here. We're on scene 1, and we're going to change out what we want it to do. Notice over here you've got 1 and 2. So 1's going to be scene 1, and you can kind of count like this number 2 here is like scene 1, and then scene 1, 1, 2 or something like that. However it works in your brain, but this is all under switch number 1 right here. So when we click on this the first time, we got the color code red, so we know we're in red. And then we've got number 2 here, and we can change the color on this. Now we know we're in the second version of that scene. So now that we've done that, we change the color code so we know which scene is what. Red is going to be our heavy tone, green is going to be our clean tone. I've got several pedals here. My first pedal in my signal chain is drop tune. Obviously I'm not going to change tuning in my guitar in middle of the rig, middle of the song, all that stuff. We're leaving that the same in case I want to drop it down a half step or a step, whatever, because I'm lazy and I don't feel like doing it. So we're leaving that as no change. And real quick, too, on these scenes, I just want to point out, too, you'll notice there's 2 different options here. There's no change and there's no preset. You can actually have your scenes change presets on here as well. So you've got some presets loaded up on these amps and pedals and so forth, and you want to be able to change those presets mid-song or, in the middle of your, whatever that you're doing. You don't have to change rigs out to do any of that. You can keep it all in the same rig and just have different presets within those. Very cool. So here we're leaving our compressor off. We've got a boost on here. I'm leaving that off. Amp 2, that's our clean amp here. I'm leaving that off. Effects loop is going to be on. I've got a parametric equalizer coming in after that. We're going to leave that on. That affects my dirty tone. I've got a phaser pedal on here. We're going to leave that off. I got a chorus pedal. We're leaving that off. Our gate is going to be on because we don't want any of that extra fuzz coming out, all that extra, all that craziness that happens when you got a lot of distortion going on and then you stop playing. You don't want any of that, right? And then we're doing no change on the volume because, again, we want this pedal to be unaffected no matter what scene we're in. It's just going to stay the same. So we got our first scene within a scene set up here. So now we're going to click on this little 2 over here. This is going to be our clean tones. We're going to do some different things here to set up our clean tones. So now we're going to shut off the effects loop. We're going to shut off the parametric equalizer, and we're going to shut off the gate. But now we're going to set up some really cool things going on in our clean tone. So now we got our compressor is going to be set to on. Our boost is still going to be off. I'll show in a minute why I'm doing that. We got amp is going to be on. Effects loop off. Parametric EQ off. We're going to have our phaser on. We're going to have our chorus on, and then we're going to have our gate off, volume, no change. So there's our first scene. So we can select that. See if you can hear this. This is dirty. that's our dirty. Here's our clean. Two songs that are just mandatory I play if I have a phaser pedal going, even if it's my own songs. Okay, so we're doing that. So we got our scene set up on that one switch, which is awesome. Now what we're going to do, we're going to have a little hybrid thing going on. So we're going to click on this second one. This is going to be switch number 2. What we're going to do for this switch, again, it can be any switch you want, but for me in my brain, I like this to be my boost switch. So I'm going to select my boost. I'm going to select that to on and off. So now, if I'm playing and, I'm in the middle of I just want to get a little extra boost, I'm doing a solo or something. Boost on. Yeah, I probably went too long on that one, but I was just having a little bit of fun. All right, so we got our boost in case we need that for whatever reason, right? We don't need a scene for that. We just want our ability to be able to kick in our boost in and out whenever we want. Another thing that I like to do, and this is just me, and everyone's different, right? I also like having my chorus available to me whenever I want it. Sometimes I like a chorus pedal within a solo, or sometimes it's just neat for the rhythm part or whatever. So I'm going to have this on or off. And again, I want to point out, you can select different colors for these. You can't do it here though. You have to go into the pedal themselves if you want these colors changed. So I'm going to go back to my rig. I'm going to click on the pedal. You notice here's your color code. And we can, select whatever different colors we want. Let's say we want, I associate a boost with like a yellow, but since we already have a clean for a green, I don't want to have my green because I actually have that's what you see to your right over here. This is actually this is a max on overdrive to your right, and that's green. But I already have my clean as green, so I don't want that. So I'm going to keep it at yellow orangish. And then I got a chorus pedal over here. Right now it's color coded as purple. Let's make it blue. I associate chorus with blue, so let's do that. So now it's blue. So here we go. Now I got chorus on. Listen. Notice the chorus stayed the same when I selected my different scene. And if I don't want the chorus on when I'm on clean mode, just select that off. And the only thing you can hear now is that phaser. And I can re-engage it if I want to. So just some cool little things you can do. And then another real quick thing I'll show you. I did this in the last video, but just to make sure everyone's on the same page, I'm going to edit what we call this scene. And because it's two different scenes, you want to be able to recollect what it is that you're doing. So I usually have like the first few characters being what my initial tone is going to be, and then the last 3 characters is what I'm going to have my clean tone be. So it's going to do heavy, so I'm going to do HVY for like an abbreviation for heavy. I'm going to do a little dash here, and then I'm going to have clean. Well, actually, since I got a phaser going, let's do PSR. Oh no, it's only going to let me do 2. Forget. It only lets you do 6 characters. That's okay. That's okay. Okay. And then that's it. And we've got it defaulted to the clean mode. When every time you select this rig, you can have it default to the heavy if you want when you click save. Or you can have it go to clean. My chubby little feet sometimes accidentally change rigs when I'm in the middle of a song. And most of the time I'm in a heavy tune anyway, so in case that horrible thing happens, all of mine default to the heavy tone up front. So that's what I'm going to do here. We're going to save it, and then that's it. You're all set. And that, my friends, is how to create 2 scenes on one channel while keeping a few extra switches available for anything else you want to switch on or off. So as always, like I did in my last video, leave me a comment. If there's something else you want to see, if there's something else you want to check out on this thing. I think I'm going to do some more of these, do a few more tutorials. I absolutely love this pedal. I think it's awesome. It's very underrated. There's a lot of great tones and things you can get out of this thing. Very awesome, compact little device, and a lot of value for your money with this thing as well. I actually have a lot of other pedals connected into this thing. Like I have a separate delay, and I have separate overdrives, and I've got a whammy and a wah over here that I put into this thing. So like I said, this thing can be a standalone unit, or you can have it as part of your overall rig, which is how I have it. And if you're curious, this thing is now not going into my mixer. This is actually going into my into the effects loop of my Mesa Boogie dual rectifier, and then that's going into a torpedo capture box, which then is going into my audio interface. So that's the tone you were hearing today, if you were curious as to why it was a little bit different than it was the last video. There are a lot of different ways you can do this stuff, guys. Anyways, as always, thanks for watching.